Welcome to WROL Broadcast. I am Hate Mail, and with me today we have Tewtytron.
Hello, everyone.
And we're talking about the reworks, and of course we had to have Tootie on for this as we're trying to get the rework episodes back online like we had in the past. And Tootie had both of these tunes RB5 before they were released, so today we are talking about Hush, who I can't say I'm overly excited about. I've used him a fair amount. He definitely seems improved. What are your just kind of initial thoughts, Tootie?
At RB5, he is pretty decent. He is the epitome of a silence character, I think, of what they can be. He offers a lot of like new avenues. Like his old kit didn't really allow him to maintain the silences as well as he does now. But now it's like once there's a silence on an enemy, it's essentially permanently there unless they self-purge or someone else purges it off for them. If there's no purges, it's there for the rest of the fight. There's no going away of that silence, and that's pretty a big bonus to him as well.
Now, would you say like how much improved is he compared to what he was before?
He definitely hits harder. I do feel like he may be slightly less survivable. His awarenesses don't proc as often as they used to for me, but his damage is significantly better. I think his 3, the gun thing, it has a legendary that offers 100% turn meter if it kills, and for me it kills quite often. Like I can take any blue if they're at 100% health, it's an iffy thing, but if they don't die, they're at like 5% health. So that kills most blues for me right off the bat. But also, like I said, you got to take it with a grain of salt because mine's RB5. But his basic also does significantly good damage as well. Like unless you're Barda and you have 1,000 stamina ups, you're gonna take a pretty good chunk out of someone's health bar.
Yeah, see, I don't find that mine kills that much stuff with this. I mean, it does do decent damage. It's just not significant, I would say.
My least favorite part about him is that in a Spectre world, he doesn't really do a good job of like getting rid of awarenesses or like getting under awarenesses. So if Spectre has like 4 or 5 awarenesses and it's him versus Hush, Spectre still wins, unfortunately. So that's a problem a little bit, but he is he's got decent sustain. The overheal on his basic doesn't really do a whole lot because his intelligence is super low, but he it still helps trigger people like Enchantress and other like heal based kits, Starfire as well. So if you don't want him on a silence team, you could put him technically on a heal team and that would still work out well. But not heal teams really exist right now. So he fills some niche roles and he fills them well, but in a plug and play world, that's not what you're looking for most of the time.
Yeah, I can't say I'm super excited about him. I mean, Silence is an okay. I mean, I think Silence is a little underrated. I think it's better than some people give credit for. But there's no tune out there that's come out yet that's like, oh, if you silence them, I'm going to do something devastating, which I think is what we're missing if they're not going to change Silence.
Right, and I've been hoping that they would change Silence for the longest time because after they changed heal immunity like 3 or 4 years back, they kind of gave me hope a little bit, but it seems like they're not really going to change the debuff itself, but they're just going to keep offering avenues to use it.
Which
and
is
most
fine.
of the time,
I mean, if they make a character or two that if the character's silenced and then you hit them, it does something horrible or something along those lines, I think it would be a much more attractive debuff.
Right. And currently it's used mostly by like assassin characters like, Ra's al Ghul, Ravager, Hush. These are characters that often don't really have a whole lot of superpowers but are considered strong fighters and good assassins or something like that. And whatchamacallit, they have been using silence as more of a target on someone's back than like all these characters that use silence effectively, like Ravager and Hush. are essentially putting it on them as I'm going to hit you out of turn later probably thing. So, I mean, those characters excel well with it. But other than that, I mean, Yara also does a good job with it, but she's not exactly an assassin, so.
Maybe have a character like if a silenced tune attacks, assassinate them. That would be...
Well, I tried really hard. I was talking to Reeves when they reworked Raish Al Ghul. I really wanted Raish's 3 to be an execute, but like it had to like have a lot of gates attached to it, and one of those gates I said were like the target needs to be silenced before you can execute them, kind of thing. So like I really wanted that to happen. They did not pull that trigger, sadly, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that if a character's silenced, to execute them with their, heavy. That I don't think that'd be unreasonable. I mean, Spectre...
And the execute wasn't even an execute. It was 100% HP damage. That was what it was. So if you're overhealed, you're still going to survive.
I mean, Spectre kind of does it if somebody dies, then he can execute everyone with his AoE, so it's...
Pretty much. Exactly.
All affinities, so it's...
Right.
Let's get into Legendary Order with Hush, because I really don't know what to pick on this, so let you kind of go through what you think should be first.
Right. I think I went with 1, 3, 2, 5, 4, mainly because that 4 is a little bit bugged. If you have him on a Clayface team, which Clayface is like his best synergy right now, that invisibility, the King's Gambit, his second ability, is bugged. If he's invisible when he uses it, he won't attack his target. He'll just stand there and let them hit him. So that's been a bug that's persisted since his debut. And I'm sad it didn't get fixed during the rework. But so that invisibility, I don't know if that legendary point is the trigger point for that bug, but I'm leaving it off. But I did decide the 1 first because those 3 mens and overheal are going to help him stay sustained, and that his basic is his out of turn attack. So he's going to be using that as often as he can. And it's also attached to his King's Gambit. So the basic attack is his primary ability. So we might as well put as much effect into that as possible. Hush Little Baby, the 3, the 100% turn meter works for me all the time because he's RB5, but I don't know at L2 if he's going to be killing a lot of people with it. I'm not sure. You might want to wait till they're like below 50% health before you hit him with it. So that's why that one wasn't first. The debuff immunity on King's Gambit is super important as well, just because you don't want like a Talon or Talia or not Talia, whoever bleeds or does stuns on their basic. You don't want them to hit him on a challenge and then debuff him to the point where he's unusable. If you did this on a Hawk Girl, you don't want Hawk Girl to stun his ass. Oh, sorry. And whatchamacallit, the strength ups on his 5th, those are pretty good for PvE content. PvP wise, you're not really going to notice it a whole lot, so it's not really a super big priority. So that's the reason why I went with that order.
Yeah, it makes sense, and I can't argue with any of that because, he doesn't seems like L3 is kind of his sweet spot. I would think you don't really, the last 2 you don't really need that much.
Right.
So, what kind of teams you said Clayface is a good pairing. What else would you pair him with?
Yeah, Clayface was actually Doom's idea, and it works pretty well because if Clayface is on the team before Hush, then if Clayface silences the attacker, Hush will retaliate for Clayface, and then that's pretty nice. But Ocean Master does a really good job because of the passive silencing. You don't actually have to hit someone for Ocean Master to silence them, so that really enables Hush to start using his out-of-turn attack more often. Yara Floor, obviously, is the powerhouse blue that is very good at silencing. Who else? Maybe Ravager, if you guys really like Ravager. Enchantress has a silence on her basic, and she also would proc turn meter off of Hush's basic as well. So there's a bunch of good synergies out there that exist.
Have you used what's his name? Jericho with him?
Yes, that turn zero silence does help, but it really especially helps when it lands on the right character, and that's the problem. Like you can't decide who it goes on, and most of the time it just goes on the taunter anyway, so it really doesn't matter a whole lot. And Jericho, as much as I wanted him to work out, he's he long-term play, he has not really grown in viability, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I'm kind of. He's got so many things you'd think he'd be decent, but he's just not.
right, he's so squishy. He just dies for me. His active abilities are really good. His silence immunity doesn't make sense, I guess, unless you're against Hush. But other than that, he's just kind of meh, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we will wrap it up there unless you have any closing thoughts on him, and then we'll.
I think if you wanted to work into like a silence team, Hush is a must-have. But he doesn't, outside of that niche, he doesn't offer a whole lot, and he's not going to really be helpful against the current meta because he can't get under Terra's immunities, he can't get under Spectre's awarenesses, and he doesn't have any like hit chance ups. So if you're up against like Harley, you're probably still SOL. So he's a fun character to play with, absolutely super fun, but effectively you have to build team around him or the niche of silence in order for him to take off. So just keep that in mind before you decide to gear him.
And if we ever get something that innate makes silence much more scary, he's probably going to be a great character. But until then, kind of a niche.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Until next time.
Hey everybody, it's Tewtytron. Thank you for listening to WROL Broadcast. If you like the show, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/WROL Broadcast. Hey, Kage, did you know that I'm now somebody's sugar baby? Yeah, his name's Kyle.